At this very moment, something beyond imagination is unfolding at the far reaches of our solar system. It's not a solar flare or a wayward comet twinkling in the vastness. No, it is something entirely different, something that defies existence. An entity named Triatlas, a newcomer from the profound darkness of interstellar space, has achieved a feat no natural object in the known universe is supposed to accomplish. It has manipulated space and time, not merely as a poetic metaphor or exaggeration, but as a tangible, documented event captured by NASA's most advanced instruments. For an infinitesimal instant, it seemed as if the universe itself inhaled. The detectors recorded a gravitational distortion so flawless, so fleeting that it contradicted every existing model. The curvature of the cosmic fabric became visible, measurable, and undeniable. If that holds, then everything we believed we knew about gravity, mass, and celestial motion has just entered an era of obsolescence. The foundational principles of physics that have guided us for centuries may soon undergo a significant rewrite. Before we delve deeper, take a moment to breathe, for what you're about to learn could forever alter your perception of the night sky. A few months ago, atop the silent summits of Mount Aya, a group of astronomers using the Subaru telescope detected an anomaly. A faint green glimmer gliding through the darkness. It was dubbed Triatlas, the third confirmed interstellar object to grace our solar system. Initially, it appeared deceptively ordinary, a fleeting visitor, a minuscule mote passing between the colossal planets of Jupiter and Saturn, moving too swiftly and fluidly to be just a comet, yet too faint to be debris. However, one night, as NASA's precise instruments monitored its path, something unprecedented occurred. Triatlas began to decelerate, not due to the gravitational pull of a planet, nor from friction. There's none in the void. It slowed down against the very essence of emptiness. Equations collapsed and simulations faltered. In that moment, the celestial mechanics that defined our understanding ceased to be coherent. Then, as if someone took the cosmic fabric and stretched it taut before letting go, space itself rippled. An invisible vibration traversed the void, a wave unseen by human eyes, yet one that all Earth-based telescopes felt. Data from the European Space Agency's GA observatory corroborated the extraordinary findings. A visible lensing of light around an object far too minuscule to produce it. Light was bent, not by mass but by something else entirely. The James Webb Space Telescope, observing the same coordinates, detected minute distortions in the starlight behind. Subtle, persistent, and undeniably real. That's when the murmurs began. Across observatory corridors and encrypted research discussions, one question reverberated louder than any other. Could Triatlas possibly be generating its own gravitational field? To a scientist, that idea was heretical. To the inquisitive soul, it was enlightening. Consider this. Every entity in the universe, from a grain of sand to a galaxy, bends the space around it. The greater the mass, the deeper the curve. This curvature is what we interpret as gravity. The sun curves the surrounding space, and Earth simply follows that curve. Much like a marble rolling within a cosmic basin, we term it an orbit. Yet Triatlas has achieved something beyond the sun's capabilities. It didn't just curve space, it influenced light itself. And for something of its size, that is inconceivable. To deflect a photon requires energy akin to that of a star, while Triatlas possesses less than a millionth of that mass. So, from where did such power originate? NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory issued a brief, stark statement that sent chills with its straightforwardness. The event does not align with standard gravitational models. Translation: we have no clue what just transpired. Some theorists attempted to rationalize it, perhaps a transient gravitational wave, a ripple from colliding black holes brushed against it, but the data failed to support that. Others speculated about exotic matter, a theoretical dense substance that bends space naturally, but even those models stumbled. And then appeared the boldest hypothesis of all. What if Triatlas wasn't traversing space, but instead manipulating space to navigate? Imagine a vessel requiring no propulsion, fuel, or thrust, one that seamlessly rides the universe's fabric as if it were a wave. Rather than journeying from point A to point B, it could unite the two, folding the cosmos like paper. For decades, this concept has been the holy grail of theoretical physics. A warp drive, a notion relegated to fiction until now. Perhaps for the first time in history, we might witness a manifestation of that principle, not merely in fantasy, but in reality. Of course, NASA cannot officially verify this. Triatlas remains an enigma, an unexplained gravitational anomaly. However, off the record, behind closed doors, silence speaks louder than any statement. Communications between NASA, ESA, and JAXA suddenly became encrypted. Data streams halted, access restricted. The last time an event like this occurred was in 2017 with Oumuamua, the enigmatic cigar-shaped entity that accelerated out of our solar system without a trace of gas or dust. But this time is different. This time, the very structure of the universe has shifted. I vividly recall the moment I reviewed the raw data from the University of Tokyo's gravitational instruments. It was unaltered, unprocessed, mere figures on a screen, chilly and indifferent, until the deeper meaning clicked. Then came the realization the numbers weren't random. They were precise, clean, intentional, as if an entity had reached out and gently marked the universe, leaving an unmistakable dent in space-time itself. From the outset, Triatlas contradicted every expectation. It didn't merely reflect sunlight. It emanated its own glow. It didn't drift aimlessly. It moved with surgical precision, as though following a blueprint rather than an orbit. Then, after the distortion event, it disappeared. The green light that had previously danced across our screens was extinguished. No telescope could locate it again, but radar still could. Triatlas hadn't vanished. It had entered a state of darkness, enveloped in what researchers now term the blackout phase, a cloak of gravitational invisibility. While optical sensors perceived nothing but emptiness, radar echoes unveiled a silent, unmoving presence, still there, observing. As scientists rushed to decipher what had occurred, a team at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics detected something even more peculiar. Time around Triatlas began to behave strangely. Radio waves reflecting off its surface returned with a fractional delay of mere microseconds, almost undetectable, yet sufficient to disrupt our calculations. It indicated one critical fact. The space around Triatlas was stretching. Time itself was decelerating. Allow that to resonate. If that's authentic, then Triatlas isn't merely traversing space. It's warping time itself. This is the very essence of Einstein's relativity, where time isn't constant but malleable, influenced by gravity. A clock located near a massive celestial body ticks more slowly compared to one in open space. Astronauts aboard the ISS age a fraction of a second less than those on Earth. Yet to create such a measurable difference, you require the gravity of a planet, a star, or a black hole. Triatlas is smaller than a mountain. For it to produce such a phenomenon, it must perform something beyond our known physics, something intentional. That is precisely what unsettling scientists the most, because if it can inadvertently manipulate the flow of time, how might it interact with something else? What if it bends too much? Could it rip the fabric of space, creating a fissure, a portal between here and another realm? These are not just science fiction scenarios. They are genuine debates occurring right now in enclosed rooms, filled with bated breath and halted clocks. A physicist from MIT expressed it succinctly. If this isn't a natural occurrence, then something exists out there that comprehends the universe better than we do. That statement continues to resonate with me, because every significant advancement in human comprehension began with an anomaly, a deviation that refused to conform. The peculiar wobble of Mercury led us to general relativity. The slight disturbance in Uranus's orbit unveiled Neptune. Every inconsistency serves as a whisper from the cosmos, urging us to investigate further. And this whisper feels alive. Triatlas is not merely a mystery. It embodies intention. Some refer to it as cosmic engineering, others as ancient technology. I prefer to view it as a consciousness speaking through the very laws of physics. What if Triatlas is not a visitor at all, but rather a messenger? That notion kept reverberating in my mind as I gazed at the last radar returns. The object hadn't vanished. It had intentionally chosen silence over spectacle. Its glow extinguished, its pulse faint, yet its gravitational whisper lingered throughout space. The data hinted at a deliberate rhythm, a cycle repeating every 31 seconds, akin to the breath of something ancient. Perhaps it was mere coincidence, perhaps communication, or maybe the first deliberate signals humanity has ever intercepted. For centuries, we've presumed that intelligence reveals itself through complexity, through radio waves, languages, and architectural structures. But what if true intelligence communicates through the very laws of physics? What if Triatlas isn't transmitting words, but demonstrating mastery, revealing the potential of understanding the very fabric of the universe? I envision a civilization so ancient and advanced that their technology intertwines with nature, a species that no longer consumes fuel, but rather bends geometry, a civilization that doesn't construct vessels, but sculpts the curvature of reality for travel. Triatlas might not be a vessel at all. It could be an artifact, a probe, or perhaps a seed set adrift millions of years ago, silently drifting through interstellar currents, gathering knowledge, studying the architecture of space-time. Perhaps it was never intended to be observed. Maybe our detection of it was the catalyst that awakened it. The gravitational pulse we recorded could have been a calibration, a realignment, or even a handshake. When we observed it, it observed us in return. The more I contemplate it, the more I feel the weight of perspective pressing down upon me. Generations have believed we were the ones exploring, peering into the unknown. But what if tonight, the cosmos is gazing back at us? That realization is humbling, reminiscent of that first pale blue photograph captured by Voyager when Carl Sagan remarked, "That's home." Yet this time, the reflection is mathematical, not emotional. Triatlas reflects what we might become. After the blackout phase, NASA's Deep Space Network expanded its tracking capability to beyond Mars. Despite silence in optical frequencies, radar signatures persisted. Then, something remarkable transpired. Triatlas began to decelerate again, not owing to any external force or collision, but adjusting its velocity with astonishing accuracy, as if fine-tuning its position relative to the sun's gravitational field. In every measurable aspect, it was behaving like a surfer, harmonizing with a cosmic wave. In this instance, the wave itself was the curvature of space. Imagine learning to ride the geometry of the universe, gliding across the folds of gravity, rather than fighting against them. That defies conventional physics. It exemplifies its perfection. Humanity has always strived to overcome nature, to conquer gravity, time, and entropy. But perhaps the pinnacle of intelligence isn't resistance, but rather resonance. Maybe Triatlas does not move through force, but rather through harmony. I often tell my students that science is poetry composed in the language of mathematics. Tonight I sense that the universe is reciprocating, writing poetry back to us. Triatlas serves as the pen, and gravity holds the ink. Official statements remain poised and cautious. NASA classifies it as an unresolved gravitational anomaly. The European Space Agency refrains from comment. Yet outside the realm of official reports, the conversation shifts. Scientists whisper among themselves. Engineers familiar with the raw data describe it as too flawless, too intentional, an anomaly that behaves as if designed. Yet no one dares to label it with what it might be. Artificial. That word bears substantial weight. It separates the imaginable from the unimaginable. Because if Triatlas is indeed artificial, then someone created it, someone who grasped how to shape the universe itself. That realization alters everything, not just our science, but our standing within it. Within the shadowy corners of research forums, theories flourish. Some assert Triatlas is a remnant from a long-extinct civilization, leaving behind artifacts to wander. Others propose it as a node within a sprawling network, one of countless probes scattered throughout the galaxy, interconnected via the gravitational web of space-time. Yet there are whispers of the most haunting possibility of all, that Triatlas continues to listen. I find myself regarding the night sky with fresh eyes. The constellations no longer seem static. They now feel animated, like the gaze of something vast and ancient. Each photon that arrives could be communication, every distortion, a heartbeat. In the Harvard-Smithsonian lab, an experiment was conducted to analyze time dilation at the coordinates of Triatlas. Across a 24-hour observation period, the signal delay incrementally increased by mere nanoseconds. Insignificant by human measures, yet consistent and reliable. It was as if the object were deliberately extending time in waves, pulsing it like a slow, coordinated breath. Time itself was behaving differently in its presence. This indicates that, in some small measure, Triatlas is altering the universe's rhythm. And if it can accomplish that, even on a local scale, it could traverse unfathomable distances without any movement at all. Visualize folding a sheet of paper so two distant points touch. That embodies the essence of the warp drive concept. Travel not through space, but around it. For decades, we've dismissed this notion as fantasy. However, perhaps fantasy is just physics we have yet to label. When I reflect upon Triatlas, fear dissipates, replaced by awe. The kind of awe our ancestors experienced when they first recognized stars were suns. The same awe that propelled Galileo to gaze upward and murmur, "And yet it moves." For Triatlas isn't merely in motion, it is teaching, demonstrating that the universe is not a wall, but a dialogue. Philosophers may call it cosmic engineering, skeptics may liken it to coincidence, but when mathematics begins to resonate with mystery, I perceive it as a message. The more we investigate, the more I comprehend that perhaps intelligence is not constrained by physical forms. It doesn't require faces, voices, or flesh. It can exist in light, gravity, and waves that resonate across eternity. The primary sign of advanced life might not arrive in the form of a radio transmission or a spacecraft descending from above. Perhaps it manifests in this: a distortion in starlight, a ripple that proclaims, "Here I am," and as Triatlas drifts silently beyond Mars, leaving a multitude of questions in its wake. I can't help but ponder, what if we're not observing an arrival, but an invitation? What if this is the universe's way of saying, "Come find me"? For if Triatlas can manipulate time, folding the very essence of existence, then one day, perhaps not in our lifetime, but someday, humanity will also. We shall no longer remain tethered to our orbit or confined by centuries of gradual progress. Instead, we will soar among the stars, not by defying nature's rules, but by comprehending their profound symphony. Triatlas may not serve as a warning. It might embody a promise that one day we will cease to simply gaze up at the heavens and finally step into them. In the days that followed, silence resonated as the loudest sound within every control room on Earth. Triatlas ceased to emit detectable light or heat, yet its gravitational signature pulsed steadily, echoing through the abyss like a heartbeat. The data proved irrefutable. The object remained, shrouded in its invisible cocoon, bending reality around itself. The more we scrutinized, the less we comprehended. Nonetheless, amidst the confusion, something felt intimately familiar, as if the universe chose to express itself in a language we were finally prepared to understand. At the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, scientists began to juxtapose the distortions caused by Triatlas with older gravitational maps. What they unearthed was astonishing. The pattern aligned perfectly. It mirrored the harmonic ratios of planetary orbits, resembling the object tuned to the rhythm of our solar system. It was akin to Triatlas humming in accord with the sun itself, a note resonating beautifully. I found myself studying those graphs for hours, realizing that this might represent communication, not through words or symbols, but through harmony. The universe wasn't clamoring for our attention, it was serenading us. For the first time in years, I felt that rare, humbling sense of wonder that initially drew me to physics. The understanding that each equation tells a story, the story of how the universe listens to itself. Perhaps Triatlas isn't striving to impress or intimidate us. Rather, it's reminding us of a foundational truth. Everything we witness, every atom, every orbit, is woven into a grand, singular conversation. NASA has now verified that Triatlas is drifting outward beyond the orbit of Jupiter and heading towards the frozen edges of the Kuiper Belt. Its speed fluctuates in subtle pulses, rising and falling like ocean tides. Some speculate it is leaving us behind, yet I prefer to think it is showing us the way. As it moves and leaves traces, tiny shifts in the gravitational field, mapping a path across the fabric of space, a trail composed not of light, but geometry. Late one night, while sifting through the data, I pondered what might unfold if we learned to follow that trail. If one day humanity could step into that fold and feel time stretch around us, not as captives of gravity, but as composers of its melody. This vision does not instill fear. It inspires hope. Everything that exists, from galaxies to cells, has evolved by learning to adapt to the rhythm of the universe. Perhaps Triatlas simply represents the next stanza in that cosmic song. In an era where fear and division resonate more loudly than truth, Triatlas has accomplished something remarkable. It has united scientists, dreamers, and skeptics beneath the same sky. Across continents, people gather at observatories, streaming radar graphs, monitoring a line on a screen that signifies the frontier of our understanding. It's not evidence of extraterrestrial life, divine design, or fantasy. It's proof of possibility, proof that amidst the vast silence of space, there remains something yet to be discovered. When I address students now, I share this sentiment. The universe does not conceal its secrets. Rather, it awaits our notice. Each ripple, each anomaly, each impossible event serves as an invitation. Triatlas may not be just a visitor. It could be a mirror reflecting our potential. When curiosity transcends fear, when knowledge is no longer about control, but communion, perhaps humanity's future isn't about conquering the stars, but rather learning to dance among them, moving with their gravity instead of resisting it, perceiving physics not as confinement, but as choreography. As I document these concluding thoughts, Triatlas is slipping beyond the capacity of our instruments. Soon we will no longer be able to detect it. The universe shall envelop it, and it will return to the silence from which it emerged. Yet I no longer perceive the mystery as a void. I see it as a promise. For what Triatlas has revealed to us is both simple and profound. The cosmos is not rigid. It is alive. It communicates through light, in motion, in gravity. Perhaps we have, at long last, listened well enough to discern its whisper. So tonight, as you gaze up at the sky, do not perceive darkness. Instead, recognize potential. Every star represents a question, every shadow an incomplete thought. Somewhere out there, Triatlas continues on its journey, carrying the memory of our gaze and the echo of our curiosity. And maybe, just maybe, when the time is right, it will sing once more. Until then, we await, not in ignorance but in wonder, because we are no longer mere observers of the universe. We are integral to its narrative, its reflection, its awakening. The cosmos bends, the stars resonate, and time itself inhales. And in that gentle breath, I can almost hear it, the voice of the universe, soft yet clear, beckoning us, saying, "Awaken." I've been waiting,